Hey guys, welcome back to Critical African Thinkers. As you know, this is a place where we examine everything under the microscope of logic to ascertain what is most factual and logically consistent. So, right now, I'm going to be talking about what the Queen thought about the Israelis. And from what I've learned of recent, she didn't really think so much of them. In fact, she thought they were all terrorists. Till she died, she thought they were all terrorists. So, I came across this clip by Kim Inversin, who took us through, who was giving an analysis, an in-depth analysis of what the Queen thought about the Israelis. Now, considering the fact that they are currently carrying out terroristic and genocidal acts against the Palestinians, then it's not it's not surprising to me that the Queen would have thought of them as terrorists. I mean, just yesterday, it was learned that Jewish terrorists calling themselves settlers are storming the homes of Palestinians in Ramallah, in the West Bank, and so many other places. And these are people who are saying, oh, we're just defending ourselves. You're defending yourself by stealing other people's homes, stealing other people's lands. So let's go through what the Queen actually thought about the Israelis.
All right, guys, let's talk about Queen Elizabeth being viewed as an anti Semite posthumously. Yes, she is no.
Yeah, so that's it. Everyone who doesn't grovel at the feet of Israel is labeled an anti-Semite. It's not new. It's getting so stale. It's getting so tiring. It's like a broken clock. That's the only go-to thing they have. If everybody is anti-Semitic, then maybe it's not everybody. Maybe it's you. Maybe there's something you're doing.
Longer with us, but it doesn't matter. They're still saying she's a giant anti Semite. This story came out and this was making the rounds. This comes from jewishnews.com, I guess, Jewish News Organization. Former Israeli president claims Queen Elizabeth saw Israelis as terrorists. The former president of Israel said the relationship between us and Queen Elizabeth was a little bit difficult because she believed that every one of us was either a terrorist or a son of a terrorist. He added,
That's just a matter of fact. It's not a belief, it's a matter of fact, considering how the state of Israel was born from terroristic activities, attacking the British, attacking local Arabs, which we're going to see later on in this video. But it's simply a matter of fact. It's not an opinion per se.
she refused to accept any Israeli official into Buckingham Palace apart from international occasions. By comparison, he revealed that King Charles III,
Which was a very smart thing by the Queen because, and from what I've come to learn, Israel always plants listening devices in foreign nations. Every single time, there was this former CIA guy who said that the Israelis, every single time when they are having a visit, whenever you have an Israeli official in any country whatsoever in the US, they're going to plant listen. They're not going to attempt to. They are going to plant listening devices. So it was a smart move by the Queen by not allowing them in to her space, because that's how they're going to get to you. That it's probably how they have so much leverage over many Western nations today. They've gathered so much dirt. Before you get to know what they're doing, they must have gathered so many dirt on you, and they're going to be used. They're going to be able to use that against you to blackmail nations into doing their bidding, into supporting them.
was always so friendly. That's interesting. I think we should kind of ask why is that? Asked by Jewish News to clarify his surprising comments, he stated, "These are my words. This is what I said." Israel's 10th president made the unprecedented remark during a gala dinner commemorating 100 years of the Technion Institute of Technology held at the Royal Lancaster Hotel in London. King Charles twice visited Israel unofficially for the funerals of Shimon Peres and Yitzhak Rabin before undertaking an official visit in 2020. Queen Elizabeth II never visited Israel during her 70-year reign.
Which is very telling for someone who the British Empire was essentially in charge of mandatory Palestine. So, in her 70 years of being a monarch, she never once visited Israel. And she had this feeling, this accurate feeling about them. It's very telling. You know what? If the most terrible people in existence are, you know, they pale in comparison to you, what does that say? I mean the British Empire, thinking that the state of Israel is a terroristic state. And the Israelis are proving it right now. When literal groypers and racists think that what Israel is doing in Gaza is a genocide, what does that tell you?
But let's unpack why Queen Elizabeth saw all Israelis as terrorists. Let's go over the history of Israel's terrorism campaigns throughout the United Kingdom. And we're also going to get into some of their terrorism for the United States and their more recent terrorism. But let's go through some of it. One of the big ones was the King David Hotel bombing. This happened July 22nd of 1946. So the King David Hotel bombing, July 22nd, 1946. This was led by Menachem. I'm not saying these names right. Irgun was the
Menachem Begin.
name of the terrorist organization. The King David Hotel in Jerusalem housed the British Administrative Headquarters, Military Command and Police. And Irgun operatives disguised as Arab workers placed milk churns filled with explosives in the basement of the hotel. Warnings were reportedly sent to the British.
Now, something very interesting here is that they carried out this attack disguised as Arab Palestinians. How many of the attacks, alleged attacks against Israel, were of this nature, were false flag attacks? I mean, immediately after the formation of the State of Israel, Jews all over the Middle East started getting attacked. And there are evidence to show that many of these were false flag attacks to get Jews to migrate to Israel. I mean, they were Iranian Jews, they were Jews from Tunisia, Morocco, Yemen, all living in many parts of the Middle East. But all of a sudden, all these countries were bled dry of their Jewish populations because Israel wanted to show up its Jewish numbers. It wanted to attain demographic majority by bringing in as many Jews as possible. Many of them might not have left their countries of origin where they were comfortable, where they were living as citizens. Now, I'm not going to say that it was perfect for them everywhere, but it's not perfect for anyone anywhere. So it is very telling the tactic that they used, disguising as their opponent to carry out this dastardly act. Who knows? Who knows how many attacks have been false flag attacks, couched as Palestinians? Then, when you look at the history of terrorism in Palestine, who started it? You can look at the Palestinians today and say Hamas, they're terrorists, and so on and so forth. But the Israelis started it. The Zionist Jews started it in Palestine. So they probably are the ones that the Palestinians learned terrorism from.
But they were either ignored or did not reach the authorities in time. The explosion destroyed the southern wing of the hotel. The casualties of this terrorist attack, 91 were killed. That was 41 Arabs, 28 British, 17 Jews, and 5 others, and 46 injured.
So the majority of people killed in this attack were Arabs and British nationals. And obvious, and I think this is one of the more popular ones. Now, many of the members of this terrorist organization called Irgun and Lehi later on came to form part of the Israeli government. So these were literal terrorists who became a part of the government. And they have not stopped their terroristic ways. I mean, we can still see it in what they are doing today. Israel is attacking, at least in the last 6 months, has attacked at least 8 countries of its neighbors. It keeps attacking its neighbors and says, oh, they're attacking me. Somebody's punching you and you're, I'm the victim. They're attacking me. I'm the victim. Very disgusting, appalling behavior.
This act is often considered the deadliest attack against British forces during the Mandate. It shocked the British government and the international community. Another one was the Sergeants Affair. This happened in July of 1947. Also the same perpetrator, Irgun. The target was British soldiers Clifford Martin and Mervyn Pace. The soldiers were kidnapped in retaliation for the planned execution of 3 Irgun members, probably because the Irgun members committed the bombing of the King David Hotel. Despite efforts to negotiate their release, the British carried out the executions, and in response, Irgun hanged the 2 sergeants and left their booby-trapped bodies in a eucalyptus grove. So
it is very
they killed the guys and booby-trapped their bodies. The incident caused outrage in Britain and escalated hostilities, and the bodies were returned to Britain with full military honors. There was also the Night of the Trains, November 1st of 1945. British railway lines across Palestine.
You know what? It's very telling how Israel hasn't changed its tactics much all these years. Looking at booby trapping bodies that they had killed. Isn't that what they do? They strike a place, and when first responders come to rescue people, they strike the place again. That's what they do. That's what they literally did of recent when they killed some journalists. They kill people and they wait for people to come and rescue them, and then they kill the rescuers as well. So they have a long tradition of terroristic activities. It didn't just start today.
Palestine were the target. This was another couple of Zionist militant groups that perpetrated this. Over 50 sites were attacked simultaneously, destroying tracks, trains, and signaling equipment. The aim was to disrupt British control over transportation and communication networks.
Meanwhile, all these was happening before 1947, 1948. Because Israel will tell you that we just formed our state in 1948 and all the Arab armies attacked us. Remember that this, while they were attacking the British, they were simultaneously attacking Palestinian and Arab villages. So this is not even comprehensive. This is looking at Zionist terrorism from the British angle. We're not even looking at how they were harassing Palestinian villages, how they were very bold and upfront about their plans and their. I mean, naturally, the Palestinians were going to resist something like that. People coming from different parts of the world, coming to your home, telling you that they are going to form a state in your own home, of which you are likely not going to be a part of it. I mean, who's going to take that? Who's going to say, well, that's a good deal? Just as they're doing now, stealing homes in Ramallah and other parts of the West Bank. And the world is doing nothing. The European Union and the Western allies are just talking. Talk is cheap. They're just talking. Recognize Palestinian state. No action, nothing.
The operation marked the beginning of a larger campaign of sabotage. So they started doing tons of sabotage campaigns all throughout. There were limited casualties on this, but there was a lot of widespread disruption. Then there was the letter bomb campaign. This was in 1947. Bombs were sent in parcels to British officials in both Palestine and the UK. Targets included prominent British politicians like Foreign Secretary Ernest Bevin, who was seen as hostile to Jewish immigration. Many bombs were intercepted before reaching their targets. This was unsuccessful. There were very few fatalities. There were no fatalities or casualties. The campaign increased tension between the groups, between Zionist groups and Great Britain.
So not only were they local terrorists, they were also international terrorists because they tried to kill people, which is consistent with what they currently do. They assassinate people everywhere. Everywhere they assassinate people. Look at the pager attacks. Look at what they've done in Iran. Look at what they did in Qatar. Look at what they do in Lebanon, in Yemen. Everywhere, that's what they do. A literal terrorist state in existence.
There was also the Acre prison break. This was in May of 1947. The target was Acre Prison, which held numerous Jewish and Arab political prisoners. Irgun fighters smuggled explosives into the prison and detonated them to blow a hole in the wall. 41 prisoners escaped, including Irgun and Lehi members. British forces pursued the escapees, killing 9, capturing most of the others. The raid was seen as a bold act of resistance, but it had limited strategic success. Then there was the assassination of Lord Moyne. This was in 1944. The Stern Gang did this one. The target was Lord Moyne, British Minister of State in the Middle East. Moyne was shot in Cairo by 2 Lehi operatives. The assassination was motivated by Moyne's perceived opposition to Jewish immigration and his role in British policy in Palestine. So
more Zionist terrorism. More Zionist terrorism. No wonder the queen thought of them as terrorists. She was right because she saw all this. It was very clear. And all, mind you, all these were things happening either before or during the Holocaust. People are going to think that it's the Holocaust that caused the creation of Jewish home in Palestine. No, these plans were already in place for a very long time before Adolf Hitler even came into power. These plans were there. Jews were migrating to Palestine. They were being welcomed, and they took the grace, they took the hospitality of the Palestinians and shoved it in their face and repaid kindness with evil. That's what they did. Because you feel that God promised your ancestors a place that you haven't been for 2,000 years. Disgusting.
Immigration into Palestine. That when they say against Jewish immigration, they mean into Palestine, very specifically. Both assassins were captured and they were executed. The killing strained relations between the British government and Zionist leadership. There was the Haifa oil refinery attack of 1947. British-controlled oil refinery was the target. Bombs were placed in the refinery to disrupt British economic and logistical operations. Several Arab and British workers were killed in the explosion. This, of course, escalated tensions even more between the groups. Bombing of British Air Force bases in 1946. Ergon and Lehi did this one. Coordinated attacks in British Air Force installations, including airfields and maintenance facilities. They sabotaged operations aimed to weaken the British military in the region. So they were committing acts of sabotage against the British military. There was the railway station bombings of 1946, putting more bombs around railways. They had the Operation Agatha in 1946, which was British conducted mass arrests of Zionist leaders. And then there was a retaliation. So when the British went and arrested a lot of these terrorists, retaliation was that they started to increase sabotage and assassinations. The Zionists started doing more sabotage and assassination attacks against the British.
And they're such cowards. They're such cowards that their primary method of warfare is assassination. Such cowards. They are not able to face their opponent on an equal footing. No, they're going to catch you when you're unprepared and they're going to shoot you on your back. Such a cowardly behavior. And the list just goes on and on and on. I wasn't even aware that there was this much history, there was this inexhaustive list of Zionist Israeli terroristic activities. And all these pales in comparison to the terrorism that they are currently executing in Gaza and in the West Bank. It pales in comparison because what they are doing now is indefensible. No matter what happened on October 7th, upwards of 70,000 Palestinians, official records, but there are records that are shown that this is even in the hundreds of thousands at this point in time, which is not it's not a wild thing to think, considering the level of devastation, considering the level of destruction that's happened in Gaza. They are destroying everything in their wake. So those figures are likely very, very conservative figures. They're likely going to be incorrect. How do a people who have suffered through some of the worst things in history begin to met out some of the worst things to other people? How does that happen? Where does this kind of evil come from? To disregard life, human life, to disregard international law, to disregard pressures. Nothing. They are so unbothered, so unconcerned, despite international condemnation. A sane and reasonable, rational society would be okay at this point in time. Maybe we should look for a solution to this problem. They're just doubling down. It's like a rabid dog. And you know what they do to rabid dogs? They're put down. So maybe this is just the death throes of a lunatic terrorist state. that wants to implode itself because principally one man wants to perpetuate himself in power. So, yes, the Queen was right to view them as a terrorist state because that's what they are. And there is no amount of whitewashing that's going to stop that or going to change that. Anyway, that's all I have for now. Like, share, and subscribe. If you're just coming, you can catch the replay of the show. I'll see you in another live stream. It's bye for now.